They thought no one would come until Earth's most dreaded fleet arrived. Part 1. The Forgotten Colony. The sky turned red on the day the aliens came to New Haven. Linda Parker stood at her office window and watched the massive ships descend through the clouds. She had been the governor of this small colony for 8 years. She had dealt with storms, droughts, and supply shortages. But she had never dealt with anything like this. New Haven was a small world. It orbited a quiet star called Kepler 442, about 47 light-years from Earth. 12,000 people lived here. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and engineers. They had left Earth decades ago to build a new life. They had succeeded. They had built homes, schools, and hospitals. They had raised children who had never seen Earth, and now alien warships filled their sky. Linda grabbed her communicator and called Sam Hartley. He was the head of colony defense. Defense was a generous word. They had a few old rifles, some security drones, and about 200 people who knew how to fight. It was enough to handle criminals and wild animals. It was not enough to handle an invasion. Sam answered on the second ring. His voice was tight with fear. "Governor, are you seeing this?" "I see it," Linda said. "How many ships?" "Our sensors count 47. They're Valorian." "I recognize the design from the military archives." Linda felt her stomach drop. The Valorian Dominion was one of the most brutal empires in known space. They conquered worlds and enslaved populations. They stripped planets of resources and moved on. They showed no mercy. "Get everyone to the bunkers," Linda ordered. Now the next few hours were chaos. Alarms rang across the colony. Parents grabbed their children and ran. Workers abandoned their jobs and hurried underground. The bunkers had been built decades ago when the colony was first established. No one had ever thought they would need them. Linda stayed in her office. She had to send a message. She had to call for help. She sat at her desk and activated the quantum relay. This device could send messages across the galaxy in seconds. It was expensive technology, and New Haven only had one. She typed quickly, her hand shaking. "This is Governor Linda Parker of New Haven Colony. We are under attack by Valorian forces. 47 warships have entered our system. We have no military capability. We need immediate assistance. Please respond. Please help us." She sent the message to Earth's United Defense Command. Then she sent it again. And again, no response came. Linda was not surprised. New Haven had been forgotten by Earth long ago. When the colony was founded, Earth had promised support and protection. But governments changed. Priorities shifted. Resources went elsewhere. For the past 15 years, New Haven had received nothing from Earth. No supplies, no communication, no acknowledgement that they existed. They were alone. A new transmission came through. It was not from Earth. It was from the alien fleet. Linda opened the channel. A face appeared on her screen. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. The creature had gray skin, black eyes, and sharp teeth. It wore elaborate armor covered in symbols and metals. "I am Warlord Kethvora of the Valorian Dominion," the alien said. His voice was cold and arrogant. "Your world now belongs to us. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you comply, some of you will be allowed to live as servants. If you resist, you will all die. Choose wisely, human." The transmission ended. Linda sat in silence for a long moment. Then she stood up and walked to the bunkers. The main bunker was crowded with frightened people. Children cried. Adults whispered in worried voices. Everyone looked at Linda when she entered. They wanted answers. They wanted hope. She had neither. She found Sam Hartley in the command center. He was studying a map of the colony with a young woman in a pilot's uniform. Her name was Megan Cole. She had been stationed on the orbital platform when the attack began. She was one of the few who had escaped. "What do we have?" Linda asked. Sam shook his head. "Not much. 200 fighters, mostly volunteers. Old weapons. A few drones. We can't beat them in a straight fight, and we don't fight straight," Megan said. "We hide. We hit them when they don't expect it. We make them pay for every inch of ground. Linda looked at the young pilot. There was fire in her eyes. Fear too, but mostly fire. Can we hold for 72 hours? Maybe, Sam said. But what's the point? No one is coming to save us. Linda thought about her message to Earth. She thought about the years of silence. She thought about the children in the bunker who had never done anything wrong except be born on the wrong planet. We hold anyway, she said. We hold because that's who we are. We hold because giving up means death or slavery. We hold because somewhere out there, someone might hear us. Someone might come. Sam and Megan exchanged looks. They did not believe her. Linda did not blame them. She barely believed herself, but what choice did they have? Outside, the Valorian warships began their descent. Warlord Kethvara smiled on his command bridge. This conquest would be easy. Humans were weak. They would surrender or die. Either way, their world would belong to the Dominion. He had studied human history. He knew they talked about loyalty and sacrifice, but talk was cheap. When faced with real power, they would break like everyone else in the bunker below. A little girl asked her mother if anyone would come to help them. Her mother held her close and said nothing, because she did not know the answer. They thought no one would come until Earth's most dreaded fleet arrived. Part 2. The Black Fleet Awakens. The distress call arrived at Earth's United Defense Command at 0347 hours. A young officer named Danny Liu was working the night shift when the message came through. He almost ignored it. They received hundreds of messages every day. Most were routine. Some were spam. Very few were urgent. But something about this one made him stop. He read the words on his screen. New Haven Colony. Valorian attack. 47 warships. No military capability. Please help. Danny checked the database. New Haven was a small colony, 47 light-years away. It had been established 32 years ago. There had been no official contact with the colony in over 15 years. Most people at command had forgotten it existed, but 12,000 humans lived there. Danny picked up his communicator and called his supervisor. Within an hour, the message had reached Admiral Jack Reeves. Jack Reeves was 63 years old. He had served in Earth's military for 40 years. He had fought in the Orion conflicts, the border wars, and a dozen smaller engagements. He had seen friends die. He had ordered men into battles they could not win. He had made decisions that haunted him every night, but he had never abandoned anyone. He read the message from New Haven 3 times. Then he called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. The council chamber was cold and quiet. 7 politicians sat around a long table. They represented different regions and different interests. They agreed on very little. Jack knew convincing them would be difficult. He presented the situation clearly. New Haven was under attack. The Valorians had overwhelming force. Without help, the colony would fall within days. Everyone there would die or be enslaved. The politicians listened. Then they argued. New Haven is too far away, said one. By the time we arrive, it will be over. War with the Valorians would be catastrophic, said another. They control 3 star systems. They have hundreds of ships. We cannot afford that fight. And what about the cost? Asked a third. Sending a fleet across 47 light-years would drain our resources for years. Jack listened to their excuses. He had heard them before. Different words, same meaning. These people were too far away. These people were not important enough. These people were not worth the risk. He was about to respond when a door opened. Commander Kate Sullivan walked in. Kate was 41 years old. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet. She was also one of the most decorated. She had earned medals for bravery, skill, and sacrifice. She did not care about politics. She cared about people. Forgive the interruption, she said. But I need to say something. The politicians looked annoyed. Jack nodded for her to continue. Kate walked to the center of the room. She looked at each politician in turn. I know what you're thinking, she said. You're thinking that New Haven is small and far away. You're thinking that saving them would be expensive and dangerous. You're thinking that maybe if we just look the other way, this problem will go away. She paused. But here's what you're not thinking about. Every species in this galaxy is watching us. They want to know what kind of people we are. Do we protect our own? Do we keep our promises? Or do we abandon our people when things get hard? One of the politicians started to speak. Kate cut him off. Let me tell you what made humanity feared across the galaxy. It wasn't our weapons. It wasn't our technology. It was our loyalty. It was the knowledge that if you hurt one human, you hurt all of us. That if you attacked one colony, you attacked Earth itself. That no matter how far you ran, no matter how many ships you had, we would find you, and we would make you pay. She pointed at the screen showing New Haven's distress call. 12,000 people are waiting for us to decide their fate. Children are hiding in bunkers, asking their parents if anyone will save them. And right now, across the galaxy, every alien civilization is wondering the same thing. Will the humans come? Or will they prove that their talk of loyalty was just words? The room was silent. Kate turned to Jack. Admiral, I request permission to lead a rescue mission to New Haven. Jack smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in days. Permission granted, Commander. But you won't be going alone. He turned to the politicians. The 7th Strike Fleet will deploy to New Haven within the hour. I will command the mission personally. You can either authorize this operation or explain to the people of Earth why you let 12,000 of their citizens die. The politicians looked at each other. They knew they had lost. The authorization came within minutes. The 7th Strike Fleet was the most feared military force in human history. 17 ships, each one a masterpiece of destruction. They had fought in every major conflict of the past 2 decades. They had never lost a battle. Enemy commanders called them the Reapers. It was an accurate name. The flagship was the USS Vanguard. It was the largest and most powerful warship ever built by humans. Its weapons could crack a planet. Its shields could withstand a nuclear blast. It was a monument to human engineering and human determination. Jack Reeves stood on the bridge of the Vanguard as the fleet prepared to depart. Kate Sullivan stood beside him. The new slipspace drives are untested at this range, Kate said. We might arrive in pieces. Then we arrive in pieces, Jack replied. But we arrive. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Admiral Reeves. In a few minutes, we will enter slipspace. Our destination is New Haven Colony. Our mission is simple. We will save our people. We will destroy anyone who threatens them. And we will remind the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity. He paused. Before we go, I want to send a message to New Haven. Let them know they are not forgotten. The quantum relay activated. Jack spoke slowly and clearly. People of New Haven, this is Admiral Jack Reeves of Earth's 7th Strike Fleet. We have received your distress call. We are coming. Hold the line. Help is on the way. The message raced across the stars at impossible speed, and the Black Fleet entered SLI Peaceback. They thought no one would come until Earth's most dreaded fleet arrived. Part 3. The Siege of New Haven. Bombardment began on the 2nd day. Linda Parker felt the ground shake as another blast hit the surface. Dust fell from the bunker ceiling. Children screamed. Parents tried to keep them calm. It was not working. The Valorians were getting impatient. Warlord Kethvora had expected a quick surrender. Instead, the humans had hidden underground and refused to respond to his demands. This annoyed him, so he started destroying things. The first target was the farming district. Massive plasma blasts turned fertile fields into smoking craters. A year's worth of food was gone in seconds. The second target was the power station. The third was the hospital. Sam Hartley watched the destruction on his monitors. Each explosion felt like a punch to his gut. These were places he knew, places he had helped build. Now they were ash. He's trying to break us, Sam said. He wants us scared and desperate. It's working, said one of his volunteers. The man's hands were shaking. Megan Cole stepped forward. She had not slept in 2 days. Her pilot uniform was dirty and torn, But her eyes were sharp. "Need to fight back," she said. "Not a full attack. We can't win that. But something to show them we're not helpless." Sam shook his head. "With what?" "We have rifles and security drones. They have warships. They have supply ships too," Megan said. "I saw them when I escaped the orbital platform. Cargo vessels. Lightly armed. If we could hit one of those—" Sam thought about it. It was risky. It was probably suicide. But Megan was right. They needed to do something. If they just sat here and waited to die, their spirits would break long before the Valorians breached the bunkers. "How many pilots do we have?" he asked. "6, Megan answered. "And 3 working shuttles. Not much, but enough for a quick strike." Linda Parker had been listening from the doorway. She walked over to join them. "If you do this, you might not come back," she said. Megan nodded. "I know. Then why?" The young pilot looked around the bunker. She saw the frightened families, the crying children, the exhausted volunteers. She saw people who had done nothing wrong except live on the wrong planet at the wrong time because someone has to. "Give them hope," she said. The raid launched. 3 hours later, 3 small shuttles rose from hidden launch. Bazin raced toward the sky. The Valorian warships detected them immediately. Fighter craft moved to intercept. Plasma cannons powered up, but the shuttles were fast, and the pilots were skilled. Megan led the formation, dodging between enemy ships, using debris from the destroyed orbital platform as cover. 2 fighters got close. Her wingman, a young man named Chris Porter, destroyed them both with precise shots. They found the supply ship on the far side of the fleet. It was huge and slow, carrying weapons and food for the invasion force. Its defenses were minimal. No one expected an attack from a conquered planet. Megan targeted the engine section. Her missiles struck true. Secondary explosions ripped through the cargo holds. The supply ship broke apart in a spectacular fireball. The shuttles turned and ran. The Valorians pursued with fury. 1 shuttle was hit and exploded. The pilot's name was Jenny Santos. She had been a mail carrier before the invasion. She died fighting for her home. The 2 remaining shuttles made it back to the surface. They dove into hidden canyons and landed in camouflaged hangars. The Valorians searched for hours, but found nothing. In the bunker, people cheered when they heard the news. It was a small victory. The supply ship was one of dozens. But it mattered. It proved they could fight back. It proved they were not helpless. And then the quantum relay. Activated. Linda was in the command center when the message arrived. She read the words on the screen and felt her knees go weak. "People of New Haven, this is Admiral Jack Reeves of Earth's 7th Strike Fleet. We have received your distress call. We are coming. Hold the line. Help is on the way." She read it again and again. The words did not change. Earth had heard them. Earth was coming. She ran to the main bunker. People looked up in fear, expecting more bad news. Linda climbed onto a supply crate so everyone could see her. "Listen to me," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I just received a message. From Earth." The crowd went silent. "The 7th Strike Fleet is coming. Admiral Jack Reeves is coming. Help is on the way." For a moment, no one moved. Then someone started crying. Then everyone was crying. People hugged each other. They shouted. They prayed. They laughed and wept at the same time. In a corner of the bunker, a young teacher named Amy Lawson gathered her students around her. These children had been listening to her stories for days. Stories about Earth's legendary fleets. Stories about brave soldiers who crossed the galaxy to save innocent people. Stories that most adults dismissed as propaganda. "You see," Amy said softly, "I told you they were real. I told you someone would come." The children looked at her with wide eyes. One little boy asked, "Will the bad aliens go away now?" Amy smiled. "Yes, the bad aliens will go away. Earth is sending its best warriors to protect us." Across the bunker, Sam Hartley found Megan Cole. She was still wearing her flight suit, still covered in sweat and dust. "You heard?" he asked. She nodded. Tears were running down her face. "I didn't think anyone would come," she whispered. "I really didn't." "Yeah, neither did I," Sam admitted. "But they're coming. We just have to survive until they get here." He looked at the message again. The 7th Strike Fleet. The Reapers. The most feared military force in human space. He had heard stories about them. Everyone had. They were the monsters that humanity sent against other monsters. Above the planet, Warlord Kethvora also received the message. His intelligence officers intercepted the quantum transmission and decoded it. The Warlord laughed. "The 7th Fleet," he said, "they are 47 light-years away. It will take them 3 weeks to arrive, at minimum. By then, this colony will be dust, and its people will be slaves." He ordered his fleet to increase the bombardment. But deep in slipspace, 17 black ships raced toward New Haven at speeds that should have been impossible. New experimental drives bent space itself, cutting the journey from weeks to days. The Reapers were coming, and they were hungry. They thought no one would come until Earth's most dreaded fleet arrived. Part 4. Arrival of the Reaper. 6 days had passed since the invasion began. New Haven was bleeding. Half the surface structures were destroyed. The bunkers were running low on food and water. 3 more pilots had died in raids against the Valorian fleet, but the colonists held on. They held on because they believed help was coming. Warlord Kethvora was losing patience. He had expected this conquest to take hours. Instead, these stubborn humans had resisted for almost a week. His superiors were asking questions. His officers were getting restless. He needed to end this. He ordered the final assault to begin at dawn. Valorian troops loaded into landing craft. Heavy weapons were prepared. The plan was simple. They would breach the bunkers, kill anyone who resisted, and drag the survivors to the slave ships. There would be no more negotiation, no more waiting. Kethvora sat on his command bridge, watching the preparations. His tactical officer approached with a report. "The landing force is ready, Warlord. We will have complete control within 6 hours." Kethvora smiled. Finally, this humiliation would end. Then his tactical officer's face changed. The alien looked at his console with confusion, then alarm. "Warlord, we're detecting energy signatures at the edge of the system." "What kind of signatures?" "Slipspace exits." Multiple ships. Large ships. Kethvora felt a cold feeling in his stomach. He stood up and walked to the main display. "Show me." The display activated. At the edge of the system, 17 points of light appeared. They emerged from slipspace in perfect formation, like predators rising from deep water. The computer identified them immediately. Human warships. The 7th Strike Fleet. The USS Vanguard led the formation. It was massive. Even on the display, it dominated everything around it. Flanking it were heavy cruisers with names like Ironclad, Nightfall, and Thunderchild. Destroyer escorts surrounded them like wolves around their pack leaders. Kethvora stared at the display. This was impossible. Earth was 47 light-years away. The message had been sent 6 days ago. No fleet could travel that distance so quickly. But the ships were real, and they were coming. A communication request appeared. Kethvora accepted it with a trembling hand. A human face appeared on his screen. It was an older male, with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He wore a military uniform covered in medals. His expression showed no fear, no anger. Just calm, absolute certainty. "This is Admiral Jack Reeves of Earth's 7th Strike Fleet," the human said. His voice was flat, almost bored. "You have attacked a human colony. You have threatened human lives. You now have one choice. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. There will be no negotiation. There will be no second warning." The transmission ended. Kethvora looked at his officers. They looked back at him with uncertainty. The warlord felt rage building in his chest. He was Valorian. His people had conquered dozens of worlds. They did not run from humans. He had 47 ships. The humans had 17. Numbers were on his side. All ships, Battle formation, he commanded. Destroy them. The Valorian fleet moved to engage. 47 warships formed into attack wings and accelerated toward the human formation. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. The aliens were confident. They had overwhelming numbers. This would be a hard fight, but they would win. They were wrong. The human ships did not scatter or retreat. They moved forward in perfect coordination, like a single organism. The USS Vanguard opened fire first. Its main cannons unleashed beams of energy that should not have existed. The leading Valorian cruiser simply disappeared. 1 second it was there, the next it was expanding cloud of plasma and debris. More beams followed. More ships died. Commander Kate Sullivan led a squadron of fighters that launched from the Vanguard's bays. 60 small craft, moving faster than anything the Valorians had seen. They tore through the enemy formation like knives through paper. Kate's targeting was perfect. Every shot hit. Every missile found its mark. Focus fire on their command ship, a Valorian captain ordered. 3 cruisers concentrated their weapons on the USS Ironclad. It was Captain Eric Walsh's ship, a heavy cruiser designed to absorb punishment. The Ironclad took the hits. Its shields flared, but held. The ship did not even slow down. It continued forward, firing as it came. One by one, the 3 Valorian cruisers were torn apart. Kethvera watched in horror. His tactical displays were chaos. Ships were dying everywhere. The humans seemed to know exactly where his ships would be before they got there. Their weapons cut through Valorian shields like they were not even there. This was not a battle. This was an execution. How? He screamed at his officers. How are they doing this? No one had an answer. Within 2 hours, half his fleet was destroyed. Massive warships that had conquered a dozen worlds were now burning wreckage. Escape pods filled the space between the ships, but the humans did not fire on them. They focused only on armed vessels. Within 3 hours, the number rose to 30 ships destroyed. The survivors were falling back, trying to retreat. Kethvera's flagship was damaged. Multiple decks were on fire. Half his crew was dead. He gave the order he never thought he would give. All ships retreat. Emergency slipspace jump. Now. The remaining Valorian ships fled. They entered slipspace in a desperate, uncoordinated scramble. Several collided with each other during the escape. Others were destroyed by human weapons before they could jump. Kethvera's flagship barely escaped. Its engines were failing. Its shields were gone. But it made the jump. Of the 47 ships that had come to conquer New Haven, 16 survived. The rest were debris. The battle had lasted for hours. On the surface, the colonists did not know what was happening. They only knew that the bombardment had stopped. The Valorian landing craft had retreated. The sky was quiet. Then the communication system activated. A new voice filled the bunkers. People of New Haven, this is Admiral Jack Reeves. The Valorian fleet has been destroyed. You are safe. Medical ships are descending now. Welcome back to the human family. Linda Parker fell to her knees. Around her, people screamed with joy. They hugged strangers. They cried. They laughed. They prayed. Sam Hartley looked at Megan Cole. The young pilot was shaking. They came, she whispered. They actually came, Sam nodded. He could not speak. There were no words for this moment. Above them, the 7th Strike Fleet took position around New Haven. The Reapers had earned their name once again, and across the galaxy. Every species with access to communications watched and understood. The humans protected their own, no matter the cost, no matter the distance. Always, they thought. No one would come until Earth's most dreaded fleet arrived. Part 5. The Message to the Galaxy. The first shuttle landed 3 hours after the battle ended. Linda Parker stood at the bunker entrance and watched it descend. It was white with red crosses on the sides. A medical ship. Behind it, more shuttles followed. They carried doctors, nurses, food, water, and medicine. The bunker doors opened. People streamed out into the sunlight. Many of them had not seen the sky in days. They blinked against the brightness. They breathed fresh air. They cried. Medical teams moved quickly through the crowd. They treated the wounded, fed the hungry, and comforted the scared. They worked with quiet efficiency like they had done this 1,000 times before. Perhaps they had. Linda found the officer in charge. He was a young man with kind eyes. "Thank you," she said. The words felt inadequate, but they were all she had. The officer smiled. "Just doing our job, Governor? Admiral Reeves would like to meet you if you were able." 2 hours later, Linda stood on the bridge of the USS Vanguard. She had never seen anything like it. The bridge was enormous, filled with technology she did not understand. Officers moved with precision at their stations. Every surface gleamed. Every system hummed with power. Admiral Jack Reeves stood at the center of it all. He was smaller than she expected. Older. His uniform was simple, with fewer medals than she had imagined. But his eyes told the real story. They were the eyes of a man who had seen too much and carried too heavy a burden. "Governor Parker," he said. His voice was warm. "It's an honor," Linda laughed. It was a strange, broken sound. "I think I'm supposed to say that to you." Jack shook his head. "Your people held for 6 days against impossible odds. They fought back when they had nothing. They protected each other when no one was watching. That takes more courage than anything we did." He gestured to the viewport. New Haven hung in the darkness, blue and green and beautiful. "We brought the ships and the weapons," Jack said. "But your people brought something more important. They brought the will to survive. They believed help would come, even when every logical part of their minds told them it wouldn't."
Ow.
Linda thought about the bunkers, the scared children, the exhausted volunteers, the pilots who had died fighting with outdated shuttles against warships. "We didn't believe," she admitted. "Not really. We hoped. But believing? That's different." Nodded. "Hope is enough. Hope keeps you moving when everything else fails. Your people had hope. That's why they're still alive." Sam Hartley and Megan Cole arrived on the next shuttle. Jack greeted them personally. He spent an hour talking with Sam about the defense operations, asking questions, taking notes. Everything Sam had done would be studied and used to help other colonies in the future. Then Jack turned to Megan. "I've read the reports about your raid on the supply ship," he said. "Impressive flying. We could use pilots like you in the fleet." Megan blinked. "You're offering me a position?" "I'm offering you a commission. Lieutenant rank. Fighter squadron. If you want it." Megan looked at Linda. The governor nodded. "Take it," Linda said. "You've earned it. And we'll need people like you out there protecting other colonies." Megan accepted. 3 days later, the reconstruction began. Ships from Earth brought building materials, equipment, and volunteers. The colony that had nearly died was being reborn. It would take years, but New Haven would survive. It would grow. It would thrive. The 7th Fleet remained in orbit, partly for protection, partly for something else. Admiral Reeves had one more task to complete. The ceremony was held in the main square of New Haven's capital. It was the only large space that had not been destroyed. Thousands of colonists gathered. The entire fleet watched via broadcast. Jack stood at a simple podium. Behind him were the flags of Earth and New Haven. Before him were the people who had suffered and survived. He spoke slowly and clearly. "We gather today to honor those who died defending this colony. 37 civilians. 14 volunteer fighters for pilots. They gave their lives so that others might live. They faced an enemy they could not defeat and refused to surrender. They are heroes, and they will never be forgotten." He paused. "But this ceremony is not just for New Haven. It is for the entire galaxy." The broadcast expanded. Through quantum relays and communication networks, the signals spread to every corner of known space. Hundreds of civilizations watched. Thousands of worlds listened. "To all who watched this," Jack continued, "I want to tell you a story. A week ago, a small colony on the edge of human space sent a distress call. They were under attack by a superior force. They had no military. They had no hope of winning. They asked for help." His voice hardened. Some said we should ignore them. They were too far away, too expensive to save, too small to matter. But that is not who we are. That is not who humanity has ever been. He pointed to the sky. We crossed 47 light years in 6 days. We brought 17 ships against 47. We destroyed a fleet that thought it was invincible. And we did it because 12,000 people needed us. The crowd was silent. The galaxy was silent. Let this serve as a reminder to every empire, every dominion, every power that preys upon the weak. Humanity protects its own. We will cross any distance. We will face any enemy. We will never abandon our people. He let the words sink in. This is not a threat. This is not a warning. This is a promise. Attack a human colony, and the Reapers will come. It doesn't matter where you hide. It doesn't matter how many ships you have. We will find you, and we will make you pay. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, military leaders recalculated their plans. Diplomats scrambled to send messages of friendship. Species that had dismissed humans as soft and sentimental now understood the truth. There was nothing soft about humanity. There was only loyalty. Fierce, unbreakable loyalty. In the crowd, Amy Lawson held her students close. The children who had listened to her stories about Earth's fleets now saw the truth with their own eyes. The stories were real. The heroes were real. One little girl looked up at her teacher. Miss Amy, will the bad aliens ever come back? Amy looked at the massive warships hanging in the sky. She looked at Admiral Reeves on the podium. She looked at Megan Cole in her new fleet uniform. Well, sweetheart, she said, they won't come back, because now they know what happens when they try. The reconstruction continued. The fleet eventually departed, moving on to other duties, other missions. But they left behind a defense station and a permanent garrison. New Haven would never be unprotected again. Linda Parker remained governor. She spent the rest of her life rebuilding, expanding, and strengthening the colony. The population grew to 100,000 within a decade. New Haven became a symbol. And every year on the anniversary of the battle, the colony held a celebration. They remembered the fallen. They honored the living. And they looked to the stars with gratitude, because somewhere out there, the 7th Fleet patrolled the darkness, waiting, watching, ready to answer the next call. The end.